Today, I wanted to just take a minute to review the steps for adding the kitchen sink. I'm pretty happy with how this kitchen is progressing. I've managed to redesign this in my tiny house. It looks different than it did on my original sketch, but this is the best way I could come up with to fit everything. As you can see, I've got my 24-inch range, my 48 inches of wall cabinet and base cabinets, and my 30-inch refrigerator on one wall. On the other side of the kitchen, I have my dishwasher, which is the 24-inch dishwasher, a sink front, the 30-inch sink front, and the extra drawer base. So what we'd like to do today is add the kitchen sink into this sink front. Remember, in the options, we can change it from a standard cabinet to a sink front, or any of these other choices, the corner cabinets and the drawer bases. But for the sink, I want that hollow cabinet, which will be the sink front. Now with Vectorworks, we've got the counters drawn in on here. But what I'm going to do, since I'm going to be adding a sink to this, is I'm actually going to scroll down in my object info palette, and where it says draw counter, I'm going to uncheck that. Because what I'm going to do is put a separate counter onto this sink front. So I'm just going to go into top plan. I'm going to go over into my fixtures and furniture tool set, and I'm going to draw a countertop into my kitchen. It's just going to be a 30-inch countertop to replace the one that disappeared when I unchecked it. Now the reason that we need to do that and add a new countertop in there is because it gives us the option with that countertop to add a sink cutout. So I'm going to just add a rectangular sink cutout, and I'm going to change the color of that cabinet just to make it easier to see with that countertop actually. And now you can see I've got a countertop now here with a cutout for a kitchen sink. It matches up perfectly with my other countertops, but I needed to change that just to get that option. Now all I'm going to do is go into top plan, and I'm going to go into my resource manager, and I'm going to search sinks, and I'm going to find a symbol for a kitchen sink. You should have plenty of options. If you don't, remember you might need to click on the gear icon up here and refresh the libraries if you don't have all of these shapes. But I'm going to just scroll through here and find a rectangular sink that I could use in the kitchen. A lot of those first ones were used for bathrooms, anything that says the sanitary fixtures, and then usually the lavatory underneath is for the bathroom. But now I'm finally into some kitchen sinks. So I think I'm just going to go with this standard kitchen sink right here. If I can fit this one in, I'm just going to right click it and make it active. And now I can go ahead and put that kitchen sink in to this project. So I'm going to just click it right here for now. So that kitchen sink is in there. It's actually probably sitting on the floor, which it is right now. So all I'm going to do to get started is I'm going to try 36 inches. I'm going to put the bottom of that sink at 36 inches. And that moves it up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lock my countertop. And I'm going to align the kitchen sink to that, just by their center points, and I can move it if I need to. But there it is, aligned in the center. Now what you'll notice is the sink cutout does not match my sink. So that's easy to fix. I'm going to go ahead and just select my countertop, unlock it, and now for the sink depth, it's set right now at 12 inches. I'm just going to try 16 inches. You can see that made my lines for the cutout much bigger, and they're both on the flange now. The flange is this bent metal rim around the sink that holds the sink up on top of the counter. Now the sink width that I picked out is a little too big, so instead of 24, I'm going to try 22 inches. And that looks like that fits in there pretty well. Now, it's a lot closer to the back of the bowl than it is to the front of the sink bowl here. So I'm going to move my cutout back just a little bit, and that's all that these offsets are. I'm going to try moving it just half an inch. And now that cutout looks like it should work for my sink. We'll check it in OpenGL. We'll fly it over here and take a look at it. I'd, of course, want to check that a lot more carefully. But that looks pretty good right there. Now, I did notice one problem. I have my breakfast bar overhang. It doesn't leave me much room for a faucet. So I'm actually going to move my sink closer to the front of the cabinet and my cutout closer to the front of the cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and just move my sink down 1.5 inches. And now I'm going to move my cutouts also 1.5 inches. There we go. I've got my cutout again back in the middle of the flange, and that looks better. Now I might need to move my breakfast bar up just a little bit. I'm going to move that up 1 inch just to give me a little more room in here for my faucet. So I'm going to go in and just search some faucets. There right away, a few of them popped up that I could use. Let's just see down here what we have. You can see there's all kinds of bathroom faucets and fixtures. And there's just your basic kitchen faucets here. And I'm just going to go with this basic one for right now. So I made that active by right-clicking it. I've already got this texture used in the document once, so I'm just going to rename it. So I have another one. And now I've got my kitchen faucet ready to be installed. I'm going to click that in right there. I'm going to just angle it a little bit. And again, the bottom Z of that is at 0. It's down on the floor. I'm going to bring this up just 36, and I'm going to try 36.25 inches. Let's see how that looks. Now I'll check that real carefully, and if there's a gap in between my countertop, I'll move that around. But there is a kitchen faucet that's going to work pretty well for my kitchen. So that's installing the kitchen sink and faucet. And I'd like you to try to do that today during class.